You thought the first 10 laws were a complete map? You are still viewing the world through the lens of a servant. Today, we leave the shallow waters of basic accumulation and enter the predator's zone. These final 10 laws are not designed to teach you how to make money. That is a beginner's pursuit. We are here to master the art of owning the entire game, while everyone else is distracted by the movements of the pawns. In Part 2, we are ruthlessly stripping away the comforting lies that have kept you obedient and small. We will deconstruct why your morality is a heavy chain around your neck, how your ego acts as a constant leak in your bank account, and the exact mechanics of turning your darkest, most paralyzing fears into high-octane power. If you are looking for soft motivation or a pat on the back, leave now. This path is not for you. But if you are looking for the cold, hard blueprint to the untouchable state, then pay close attention and watch until the very last second. Your initiation into the world of the elite ends today. The question is no longer whether you can survive the system, but whether you have the stomach to rule it. Part 11. The Law of Calculated Substitution. To rise above the common struggle, you must master the law of substitution. Most men spend their lives substituting their health for wealth, only to spend their wealth later trying to buy back their health. This is a tragic trait. The predator operates on a different plane. They substitute perception for reality and ideas for labor. Consider the architect versus the bricklayer. The bricklayer's value is capped by his physical stamina, but the architect's value is capped only by the scale of his vision. In the modern economy, you must ruthlessly audit where you are applying your energy. Are you doing manual tasks that someone else could do for a fraction of the cost? If so, you are devaluing your own life. Your goal is to move up the food chain until you are substituting high-level decisions for thousands of hours of collective labor. This is how the elite scale their impact. They don't work harder in the traditional sense. They work heavier. They make decisions that move the needle by miles, while the servant makes moves that move it by inches. Stop being the arm that swings the hammer. Become the mind that decides where the building should stand. Part 12. The Illusion of Moral Superiority. One of the heaviest chains around the neck of the poor is the illusion of moral superiority. You've heard the sayings, "Money is the root of all evil," or "At least I'm an honest man." These are comforting lies designed by those who have failed to make their failure feel noble. In the realm of power, morality is often used as a weapon to keep the masses obedient. The rich understand that good and bad are often just labels for useful and useless in a given context. If you want to build an empire, you must transcend the guilt that the world tries to project onto you. This doesn't mean becoming a criminal. It means becoming a pragmatist. You must realize that poverty is not a sign of virtue, and wealth is not a sign of greed. Wealth is a sign of efficiency, influence, and the ability to solve problems at scale. When you stop judging those at the top and start studying them, the fog clears. You see that the rules of morality are often flexible for those who have the power to define them. Be cold in your analysis. If a belief doesn't move you closer to your goal, it is a virus in your mind. Delete it. Part 13. Financial Emotional Intelligence. True wealth is 10% math and 90% temperament. Most people fail financially because they have the emotional intelligence of a child when it comes to money. They buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like, driven by a desperate need for status. But the predator knows that real status is invisible power. This part of your journey requires you to kill your ego. Your ego wants the flashy car and the designer clothes to prove you've made it. Your bank account, however, wants you to stay quiet and compound your assets. You must learn to find pleasure in the growth of the numbers rather than the display of the objects. Financial EQ means being able to sit in a room full of people who think you are average, while you are secretly the wealthiest person there. This hidden wealth is your greatest protection. It keeps the parasites away and gives you the freedom to move without being tracked. When you are no longer a slave to your pride, you stop bleeding money on useless trophies. You start seeing money for what it truly is, fuel for your freedom, not decorations for your cage. Part 14. The Predator's Patience in Crisis. Crisis is the predator's harvest season. While the average man panics at the first sign of a market crash or a social upheaval, the strategist smiles. Why? Because wealth is never truly destroyed. It is simply transferred. In times of stability, wealth is locked in place. In times of chaos, it becomes fluid. This is where your lion's patience pays off. Most people spend their lives chasing the bull market, buying when everyone is happy and prices are high. But the elite wait for the blood in the streets. They have the stomach to buy when the world is screaming the end is near. This requires a cold, detached mindset. You must train your brain to see fear as a discount and panic as an opportunity. When everyone is running for the exits, you are the one calmly walking in to buy the building. This doesn't just apply to stocks, it applies to every area of life. When a competitor falters or a niche is abandoned due to fear, that is your moment to pounce. Wealth is built by those who can remain rational when the rest of the herd has gone insane. Part 15. The engineering of desire. To command the markets, you must understand the engineering of desire. Most people believe they know what they want, but in reality, their desires are manufactured by those above them. The rich don't just supply products, they create the vacuum of need. They understand that humans are driven by two things: the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of status. If you can position your brand, your service, or your identity as the bridge to one of these two things, you will have a line of people waiting to give you their money. This is the secret of invisible selling. You don't beg for a sale. You create a narrative where the customer feels incomplete without what you offer. You sell the after picture, not the before struggle. By mastering the psychology of envy and belonging, you turn your business into a cult-like experience. People don't just buy your product, they buy into your world. They buy because they want to be like you, or because they are afraid of being left behind. When you control the desire loop, you no longer have to work for money. Money becomes a byproduct of the gravity you've created in the marketplace. Part 16. The art of strategic abandonment. One of the most difficult skills to master is strategic abandonment. Most men fail because they are too loyal to their mistakes. They stay in dying businesses, cling to toxic partnerships, and hold on to outdated beliefs simply because of the sunk cost. The predator, however, has no such sentimentality. To reach the summit of wealth, you must be willing to burn the bridges that lead back to your old self. You must be able to recognize when a path has reached its end and move on without a second thought. This applies to people as well. As you rise, you will find that the circles you once moved in become a weight around your neck. Their small-mindedness, their need for comfort, and their fear of change will act like an anchor. You must have the coldness to prune your social garden. It is not about being cruel, it is about being efficient. You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. By abandoning what no longer serves your vision, you free up the energy required for the next leap. Evolution requires the death of the old. Embrace the fire that clears the path for your new empire. Part 17. The law of information asymmetry. In the game of power, the one with the most hidden data wins. This is the law of information asymmetry. Average people are open books. They broadcast their intentions and telegraph their moves long before they act. The elite, however, operate in the shadows. They realize that information is the most valuable commodity on Earth, more than gold, more than oil. To exploit this, you must develop a network of eyes and ears while keeping your own mouth shut. Knowledge of a market shift, a competitor's weakness, or a new regulation before it becomes public is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. You must learn to curate the information you receive and carefully filter the information you give. When you operate with a surplus of knowledge and a deficit of exposure, you create a tactical advantage that is impossible to defend against. You become the one who sees the invisible, allowing you to strike with surgical precision while others are still guessing. Information is power, but only if you are the one who owns the silence. Part 18. The fortress of discipline. Motivation is a fickle spark, but discipline is a fortress. Most people stay broke because they are slaves to their moods. If they feel like working, they work. If they are tired, they stop. The predator knows that the market doesn't care about your feelings. To build untouchable wealth, you must develop a discipline that borders on the mechanical. This is the fortress of discipline. You do what must be done, especially when you don't want to do it. You control your impulses, you manage your time with military precision, and you never let short-term desires compromise your long-term dominance. This discipline is your greatest competitive advantage because it is so rare. In a world of distracted, dopamine-addicted zombies. The man who can focus on a single objective for years is a god among men. Your discipline is the wall that protects you from the chaos of the herd. It is the steady hand that steers the ship when the storms of life try to blow you off course. Build your fortress brick by brick, and you will become an immovable object in the marketplace. Part 19. The transmutation of fear into power. Fear is the most potent energy in the human experience, but for most, it is a paralyzing poison. For you, it must become a fuel. This is the transmutation of fear. When the average man feels fear, he retreats. When the predator feels fear, he knows he is close to the prize. Fear is a compass pointing toward growth. If a deal, a move, or a strategy doesn't scare you at least a little, it is probably too small for your potential. You must learn to weaponize your anxiety. Use the fear of remaining ordinary to drive you out of bed in the morning. Use the fear of poverty to sharpen your focus during a negotiation. By embracing the things that make your heart race, you develop a courageous intelligence. You stop seeing obstacles as walls and start seeing them as tests of your resolve. When you no longer fear the unknown, you become truly dangerous. The world belongs to those who can walk into the dark and find the gold that others were too terrified to seek. Part 20. The final evolution, the untouchable state. You have traveled through the shadows of power and the cold halls of strategy. Now, you stand at the threshold of the untouchable state. This is the final evolution. You are no longer a man chasing money. You are a force of nature that commands it. At this level, wealth is no longer about the numbers in your account. It is about the sovereignty of your soul. You have mastered silence, unreadability, leverage, and narrative. You have shed the illusions of the masses and embraced the predator's mind. You move through the world like a ghost, unseen, unpredicted, and unstoppable. The herd may look up and see your success, but they will never understand the cold, calculated steps that led you there. They will call it luck, you will call it design. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but the architect of your destiny. This is the brotherhood of the elite. The few who dare to see reality for what it is and bend it to their will. The initiation is over. The game is yours. The question is, what will you build with the power you now command? The throne is empty. Step forward and claim it.